Spune-mi cum vă numiți?
My name is Peter Lucaciu.
And where were you born? What year and where?
I was born during hard years of communism, 1951, in Zărand village, which is in west part of Romania.
What year and month and day?
In February 18, 1951.
Can you tell me your parents' names?
My parents' name, father Ioan, and my mother Maria, Mary.
And did you have brothers and sisters?
We have 6 brothers and sisters. 4 brothers, 2 sisters.
Tell me, what do you remember about your grandfather and his story?
My grandfather was in Galicia in First World War. Russians took him prisoner, brought him to Siberia. He was not able to communicate with his parents. In his village, after the parents waited and waited year after year, they saw that he died on the front line. So it was a grave in my village and a cross with his name, Lucaciu.
When did he come back?
He came back after 6 years in prisoner camp, and everybody knew that he died somewhere in the front line.
Was he a Christian when he came, before he went? When did he become a Christian?
He came in a summer day, hot summer day, and everyone, including his father, worked very hard. And he opened the gate. He had a long beard and patchy clothes, and he came, opened the gate, and asked if he's allowed to stay in that house. And his father replied, "There is no time for a stranger at this time of the year when everybody is working very hard." But a neighbor, despite the fact that everybody knew that died, recognized, his voice, and it was incredible joy to know that he's alive.
Did his family recognize him, or did they?
A neighbor recognized after he was talking with them, and it was denied, was not allowed for him to stay in that house.
In his parents' house?
Parents' house.
So they couldn't even believe it, and the neighbor, right?
Yes. So it was like a miracle. He was alive and came home. It was incredible.
Did you say that he became a Christian in Russia?
Yes, in the prisoner camp were other prisoners from Austria, from other countries, and somebody came with a request if he would like to pray with them, other prisoners. And my grandfather was, in that time, he gave them, an answer that he doesn't want to pray, doesn't want to spend time with them. And after several days, he was very sorry for what he said, and they said, even now, it's not too late to pray. So that's how the faith, or how he became a believer, starting from prayer in the prisoner camp, and somebody share Word of God with him.
And what about your father? What do you remember about your father?
My father, so he was first born in the family, and in the Second World War. So my grandfather was the First World War. Then my father was, they brought him in the army, and then he reached Crimea with Romanian army, and he was fighting also there for several years. He came home alive when many people died in Crimea and the Romanian army. So that was like a miracle how God brought two people in our family.
Did you say that because they were Christian, they were put at the front of the line?
Yes, now you have books about documents in that time, what's happened with children, with young people in the Christian family. It was a blacklist of all evangelicals to be deported in Transnistria, called Transnistria. And my grandparents, all of them, they were on the blacklist list to be deported. And young people from this family also, it was a request that all of them will be sent on front line in most dangerous places.
This was a policy of the...
Yes, now it's very well documented.
So tell me, what do you remember about the village you grew up in? Work, school, any stories you remember from that?
Oh yeah, I have I have great memories. Parents worked very, very hard for in the family for us to have a happy childhood, and we have. In that time, the communist authorities, they came with collectivization. Everyone in the village should put together the land and collective farm. And I remember when some of the teachers came to convince the parents that volunteer, they will sign the paper, because they said, okay, the future of your children is in jeopardy if you don't do this. So many parents, they look at your future, and look at their land. I said it's better to lose the land. So many in my village signed, like they signed volunteer to put the land in collective farm.
Do you remember what life was like before the collective farms and after the collective farms?
From my mother side, the parents, they had land, a lot of land, which was from my grandfather, from my father's side, they were kind of poor. So when they came for collectivization, it was easier for my father's side to give up to their land. From my grandparents, my mother parents, it was very difficult because they lived from their land, from the harvest, from the crop. So once that you started with on collective farm, this was very difficult life, and then they pretend that they pay to you. You work very hard. I worked as a child on collective farm. I was 11, 12. My brother also worked on collective farm. From early in the morning till in the evening, you work on collective farm. That was kind of tough to go there and look at how hard it was for parents to work, and yet we are happy children.
How did they actually survive? Did they actually survive well after collective farms, or were the collective farms a success, a failure, or somewhere in between?
Most of children in my village, when they saw how hard parents were working on the collective farm, they wanted to go to school. And that was a good sign for me, for my brothers, all of them, as we went to school. First, we studied in our town, in our village, and after that, we went in different towns.
You said something about people pretending to work and pretending to be paid. You said about people stealing. How do people feel about the collective farms?
So imagine that after they volunteer, sign the paper, people, they had in their mind the communist authorities took by force my land, and I signed volunteer for my children to have a future, whatever the reason, was a lot of threat against them. Then people, they realize they are not paid you have the harvest, the crop from your own land, and you saw how the corn, wheat was shipped in different countries. And for people to wait in line for bread, for people to wait in line for meat, that was very difficult. And they started many collective farms to steal. In their mind, this was not wrong because the authorities, government, stole the land from them. They are not stealing from collective farm. So it was kind of acceptable after they worked very hard for even Sunday had been called to work sometimes.
So tell me what are some other examples of how collectivization worked, or in case this case didn't work? And did people, were there riots? Were there people protesting?
One of the very shocking story was when in 1949 in different villages in the west part of Romania, during the harvest, it was summer, July or August, and they had been asked to give up to their crop. It was Red Army still in Romania, and they need to give up. It was not collectivization in that time, so people need to work very hard and to give up to their crop and to give to be shipped to Soviet Union. At some point, people ask, what will do for my life, for my children, if they don't have anything? And was one mayor who said, if you don't have anything to eat grass or something. And people from village became very angry about this. They start with riot. The army was sent in that area. My father-in-law was witness. Always he was ready to tell my children, to tell other people about that shocking story. But now you have books already written about the riot in Ukurish and other villages. So my father-in-law was witness when people had been killed in that village, including from Baptist Church, from that area. And that was really shocking because the secret police, or securitate, how you call, didn't allow family to pick up the dead bodies from the street. They killed in different places, people in different places. They shot people in the mouth. And they didn't allow families to pick up the bodies. And in fact, they deported families to Black Sea. And that was such a terror in the villages that for years, nobody was so shocked and nobody was able to talk about this event. But my father-in-law always talked about this, and he never fell in love with communism.
What did you experience as a Christian in the early grades or even in high school? You said you were kicked out of the UTC for being a Christian. How did that happen?
The teachers, especially the teacher, has been forced to make pressure upon the students to not go to the church, especially from evangelical churches. So I attended a Baptist church that was started by my grandfather and several other people. And when I went to the church, some of the teacher stopped me and other children from the church and say, if you go to the church, you don't have a future in this country. Do you want to destroy your future? Don't go anymore to the church. So that was kind of obstacle that you saw from beginning. You started the school and already was threat like this. You don't want for your grandchildren, for others to have same experience. The teacher will come, will stop you, don't go anymore to church because this will happen to you.
And this was in early, like in elementary and gymnasium?
In elementary school, yeah.
What about the UTC, the Communist Youth? You said you were expelled?
So I went from my village, from elementary school to high school. Only few students from my village succeeded to go to high school. I was one of them. I saw how God opened the door for me, for my brothers, other from the family went to high school and they succeeded too. It was anonymous test, so it was amazing how God was leading me and my brothers. And some point in city of Cluj, we were from, 3 students from same family was unthinkable. So I was in medical school. I have 2 other brothers there, and the entire village was so amazed from a small church, from a family, 3 students. Then I have cousins also from my church. They succeeded there. So you had suddenly people, they ask, how was possible? Then we went at Christmas time when we had vacation in December. We went back singing songs at Christmas. We went back to principal, to communist authorities, and sang songs.
Your village? Mm-hmm. Back in your village?
And back in my village. So that really was a great signal for leaders and for authorities. Look at them. Look how respectful they are. Look, the whole night before Christmas, you sang songs, and there was such a great joy to go to your teachers, to go to militiamen, to go to the mayor family, to go to the priest, to other, and people, they look at you, look how God helped them.
But you were in high school in which city did you go to?
In Arad City, in high school, yeah.
And that's where you got, did you feel isolated or kicked out, or you were taught about the science?
In high school, it was not such a big case, but when I went to medical school, then they found out that several students, like myself, we attended a church in Cluj city. That was, they call us one by one and ask us to not go anymore to the church. It was incredible pressure from my friends, from colleagues, from teachers, from professors, from doctors, and one by one they ask you, said, look, you destroy your future, you will not graduate medical school, you will not finish medical school, you will not be a doctor, you jeopardize everything if you just say that you not go to church. Maybe you go to church, but write that statement that you will not go anymore to church. So you had doctors that ask you to go in their office and they make pressure and they say, look, medical school and religion, they cannot go together. This is impossible for you to go with religion. And it was not only my case, it was other students' case. And they started to intimidate you. Some of my colleagues have been called every day, sign the paper or give up to your faith. Finally, they brought us in front of all students, and then one by one, the professor, they start, some of them yelling, look, this is unbelievable to see students that today they still believe in God, be a medical school and still to believe. And sure, everyone spoke there very badly about how a religion in school looked like. A lot of threats. It was unbelievable after that, because many colleagues said, you will not graduate medical school. It was unbelievable how some professors treat us. They whisper to you, I have a great respect for what you stand for. I had some colleagues very interested in religion. So it was not what you saw. Some of them, sure, they isolate you. But it was amazing how you saw God's hand in all of this, protecting you, give you a victory, and to others. So we graduate medical school.
So for some of them, it was just a show. For some of them, they actually believed that they were going to intimidate you into giving up your Christian faith.
Yes, that's, imagine for your professor who had a task, how you be successful in university as a teacher and you don't have the impact upon students. And they saw that if you study scientific socialism, for 1 year you study that, you study communist philosophy, and why communism superiority, and why communism will prevail. And they prove in 1970s, I was student medical school since 1972 to 1978. And another 3 years, I was resident in Bayoush Hospital.
What evidence did they give about the strength, superiority of communism, socialism?
They said, look what's happened now in 70s. It was 70s. Look how strong Communist Party is in Italy. Look how strong Communist Party is in France. And so on, in Spain. Then look what's happening in South America or in Africa. Country after country either became communist or the communists became very strong there. So that's, I said, see, we prevail in the whole world. And that's, you look in Asia, in different countries. So it was kind of, they tried to prove that finally they prevail in the world. The communism will succeed.
And did they say anything about the science of socialism?
Oh, that's number one. That's called scientific socialism. Everything is based on science. And everything is based on, when you look at all the wars started from religion. If you look at the past, the religion, you have been taught in school, the religion, that quotes, religion is opium for the people. Religion means darkness. The religion means a slavery, keep you in the bondage. All of this, and you say, okay, how can you go after you study communist philosophy, after you study scientific socialism, after you study ethics, communist ethics. After you study all of this, you still believe in God. This is something wrong here.
So, anything else about your medical school or about residency that is important to say or that have to do with being persecuted?
Yes, so I became a medical doctor in the area, the Beiuș area, and the town where my wife was born. It was a privilege and honor to be medical doctor in this area. I had good friends among doctors. I saw that many doctors, actually, they, despite of all this statement in public from leaders, many came to me and said, I want to know more about your faith. Why do you believe in God? Even I took doctors, they urged me, they said, I would like to go to attend the church, not here in the town of Beiuș, but in other places, if you're ready to bring me to other churches. So I went to Oradea, I went to other cities. That was amazing for me, how open people they were to Word of God.
So, tell me about your wife and your kids. When did you get married? What's her name? When did you have kids?
I got married in 1978, soon after I graduated medical school. My wife, she also was expelled from student organization, actually in high school. So it was very difficult for her, to be brought in front of all students and to say, look, you don't have future in this country, you don't have a future. That's kind of, a lot of pressure to give up to your faith. So both of us, we crossed this road, and you saw how God was opening actually the door.
And you said you remember a pastor that was persecuted or beaten. Can you tell me that story?
That was the end of 1950s when I started to go to elementary school in my village. A young pastor came to my village, to my church. His name was Samuel Borla. A very nice man who wrote poems and was very gifted. He started a program with children. And that was really something, again, that communists will hate somebody to teach children about God in that time. So children had been taught in school how bad is religion. And somebody in the village to come and to teach not only children from the church, because other children from the village started to came to listen to the pastor. So this was a beginning, a lot of trouble for him. He moved from my village, another village, and in one night, one evening, when he traveled from one village to another, it was two militiamen waiting for him. They beat him severely. He was so badly wounded that never he recovered after this, and he died after suffered a lot. The news came to us. Most of the people at that time, they just whispered. They didn't talk openly what's happened. So we found out from family, from others, what's happened. I always thought in my life, why this man pay such a huge price, was ready to pay even with his life.
This was in
my village,
Arad.
Yeah, in Arad County. Can you have să iau apă sau ceva.
Yeah, yeah. Let's take a pause.